correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPG, the podcast where me and my friend Steve try and help you get the most out of your role-playing game experience.
Welcome back to Me and Steve Talk RPGs. I'm here with my friend Steve.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest on this week. But before we get to that, we want to shout out our podcast for the week. And our podcast for the week is Shared Sagas, which is an Australian actual play podcast.
Yes, and I don't know how to say it upside down, so I'm not going to try.
Nope.
Yes, it's an Australian actual play podcast. The cast is entirely Australian, and they play a lot of different games, everything from one-shots of pretty much anything from Onyx Path, Fate stuff.
Yeah.
They've done Star Wars, Shadowrun. They're currently doing Descent into Avernus, and I'll have to bug Tom and see what they're doing next.
Yeah, good people over there. Tell Tom we sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him to eat some Vegemite for you.
And there'll be a link for that for you all to find that in the show notes. But I believe it's like podbean.com/shared sagas or something like that.
Yeah, links to everything.
Sharedsagas.podbean.com. There we go.
Yep.
Okay.
So do you want to introduce our guest?
I can. So as many of you know from hearing us ramble about it for a while now, Steve and I went to the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were there, we met someone who was there promoting their own RPG. It's a really neat game. Also, you might have heard us talk about it last week in our Game of the Week segment. It's called the Deittman Files.
The Deittman Files.
Deittman Files. Okay. So I can't pronounce. But anyway.
No one can.
But anyway, our guest this week is Alexandra, who is the author of said game. So welcome to Me and Steve.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. So tell us a little bit about, maybe a little bit about the game,
Sure. So as Steve said, my name is Alexandra, and I am the author and creator of the Deittman Files, a ghost hunting RPG. And don't worry, seriously, 50-50 shot, people say it wrong. So that's really on me, and that's what I get for essentially hitting the keyboard and coming up with a name. That's my bad. But yeah, it is a ghost hunting RPG. It is powered by the Apocalypse system, and it was created by a ghost hunter for ghost hunters or ghost hunting fans. I have been a paid professional ghost hunter, believe it or not. I once literally got paid to go in and do ghost hunts. So I guess that makes me a professional. I have traveled to many of the world's most haunted locations. It is my passion, my hobby, and that has helped inspire some of my creative endeavors. The Deittman Files actually started as my book series, and the first book, Echoes and Ashes: A Paranormal Mystery, was released in 2020. 2 weeks before lockdown, which was not a fantastic time to release a new book, let me tell you, because all of my marketing stuff went out the window. But hey, that's okay. Release that. Still, starting to work on my second book. Not quite feeling the creative, juices going for that sort of writing. And then my friends and I just started kind of branching out and trying some other games. And we started thinking, you know what? If we can't go ghost hunting, why don't we bring ghost hunting to us? And then that's how this all came to be. We said we could do that. We could write our own game. So we did. We put together the Deittman Files, and we took it to Kickstarter last year, 2021. We were 400% funded. It went very well. People seem to really be interested in the whole project. People have enjoyed it from those who have already played it and reported back to me. But we've continued sort of expanding that universe. And we now also have a 13-episode audio drama that is sort of a companion piece. It involves the universe of the Deittman Files. Is set between books 1 and book 2, but you don't need to have read the books to listen to the podcast. And it builds on some of the kind of classes you can play in the game, because the characters in the audio drama are all they all have a character sheet that would go with them. They're all essentially playable characters that I have created as well. And yeah, my second book, Earth and Ashes, A Paranormal Mystery, is dropping on Halloween. And that will sort of conclude the universe for the coming months, while I sort of sit down and debate a season 2 and start hunkering down to write book 3. That is my overview. There you go.
Well, you clearly came to this a lot more prepared than we did.
No, I'm just really good at talking. Like, really, like, you put me in front of people, I can just go on.
Yeah, well, I know I saw you running the game at the convention, and it looked like you had some very enthusiastic people at the table.
I did.
I was engaged in another game at the time. Actually, both of Steve and
Yeah.
I were.
Well, I'm so sorry because you would have heard us laughing. I was laughing so hard at these players. They were hilarious. They were so good. It was a great time.
Well, we got to have a superhero fight in a men's warehouse.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
be
pretty
fair.
wild. That's pretty wild. These guys discovered a severed head in a school trophy case style, location. So
That's pretty cool too.
That's a good one. No,
it wasn't the plan, but hey, that's what happens, I guess.
That's role-playing games. Nothing's ever the plan.
Absolutely.
Precisely.
Nothing is ever the plan.
So, if I could, how did you initially get into RPGs? And like, did you start like a lot of people do with Dungeons and Dragons?
Absolutely.
I'm just curious because I'm one of the weirdos who didn't.
Oh, all right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely how I got started. Let's see. About I would say 13, 14 years ago. It was no, probably 14, 15 years ago. I'm getting old. I had a little holiday party for some friends while I was on break my freshman year of college. And a new friend that I had made, he ended up sticking around much later than everyone else. It was a bad ice storm, I remember, and he didn't was, a couple people didn't want to quite hit the roads yet, which totally fair, right? And it was like 4 in the morning, and we're waiting for it to be safe to drive. And he's like, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm looking for people to learn how to play with me. Like, do you have any interest? And I'm like, I mean, sure. I've always kind of known about it, but I didn't know anybody playing it. So yeah, I'll learn how to play with you. So we sort of muddled through it with some pre-made stuff. That was 3.5 is what I started on. And we would continue to play like it was me and a group of guys and playing in my mom's basement. And we would continue to play for like long summer nights. And like there's something really funny with my family being like, oh yes, my daughter has a group of guys over, and it's like, aren't you worried about her? Well, no, they're sitting downstairs rolling dice. I think it's fine. But they're some of my best friends. It was a great time. And I continued that into college when another friend asked if I wanted to go learn to play 4.0 with him. And I said, well, I've never played it. Sure. So I went with him plus 2 other girls. And the 4 of us went to a friend's apartment in Southside in Pittsburgh. And when we got there, there were 2 other guys. This is going to turn into another story, which is why I'm giving you some prefacing there. So I'm so sorry. I did warn you I could talk. Um, so I showed up, and there were 2 other guys there, and they're like, yeah, we're all going to sit down and like learn how to play D&D. And so at that point, I was actually the most experienced player. So that's really saying something. That's how inexperienced everybody was. So we sat down and we all learned how to play. And that was the night that I met my now husband. That's how my husband and I met, playing Dungeons and Dragons. So we continued to all play then, and we still play with some of those people, different people, continuing campaigns. But yeah, RPGs actually means a lot to me because that is where I met my husband, and we did a groom's cake for our wedding, and we put like our D&D minis on there and everything. So that is how I started, and that is almost exclusively what I played for many years. It wasn't until like the past like 4 or 5 years that I started venturing into other RPGs.
Okay. No, I was just curious, because especially in more recent years, there's so many games out
So
there.
many.
And, I didn't know, interesting background.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I will say, as much as I had grown to love D&D, and I was a little bit nervous of ever trying to go out and learn anything else because I'm like, do I even have like the capacity to learn yet another rule set? I think personally I was getting a little burnt out of the genre when I started discovering some other games. I was getting very tired of sitting down and playing, role playing games with my friends. And it just wasn't bringing me the same joy that it used to bring me. It started to feel tedious. But that's at the point where we started trying other things, and friends started to invite me to other tables instead of me having to be the one to facilitate and organize them. And that is how I started to discover the Powered by the Apocalypse rule set and all of the games that came with that, because there are tons, but it's great because once you kind of get the rule set down, it's really easy to pick up other ones. So it's awesome to have different like genres and different styles of character play and everything, but basically be building off the same rule set.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't have you ever actually played any Powered by the Apocalypse, Steve?
Not yet. Every time I go to set one up or have somebody run it, it tends to fall through the floor. But I've heard nothing but fantastic things about Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah, I was going to say I was going to run one, and then we decided to change gears because life went crazy. And then the game we just wrapped up, I would say mechanically maybe was loosely derived from Powered by the Apocalypse, although it doesn't claim it.
Is it a 2d6 system?
Sort of.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a weird system.
It's a game called Retro Star.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. Okay.
It's retro sci-fi.
Yeah, the best way to describe it would be, what if you took the 70s Battlestar Galactica and turned it into a tabletop RPG?
No, okay. Well, I mean, that sounds fun though.
Except that you play as the cast, not in the world.
Yeah, you're playing as the actors, not the actual in-world stuff. So it's a little bit more meta.
You know what? Maybe you guys mentioned that to me at the gaming expo.
We might have.
Or actually, maybe some of my players when I played it, when I was running my game, I want to say some of them actually mentioned that, and they were saying what a blast it was.
Oh,
it is. It's fantastic.
Its dice system, its base is 2d6, but the way they shift and the roll resolution is similar to like the what is it, 4 to 7, etc.
Yes.
numbers. The ranges are similar, but the way they adjust, we'll call it advantage, disadvantages by how many dice you roll and whether you take the highest 2 dice or the lowest 2 dice.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that sounds.
I saw a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse DNA in it. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, the creators are pretty free with the system, and they don't really have that much of an issue of people building off of it, which was really cool. I was able to reach out to them and get their approval for me to be able to use it and put the claim in my book.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's how it started and then evolved.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy. I love it for anybody who hasn't given it a shot. And if you're feeling like a little burnt out of some of the crunchy systems like myself, while some of them can skew a little more mechanics heavy, I have found that a lot of them are really great for narrative storytelling. A lot of them, and mine included, is very weighted towards the player. The GM is absolutely at a disadvantage with a lot of it, but it's great for telling a story. And if you have a group of good players, who are willing to like throw some of their own flaws in and things like that, it allows for so many opportunities. And you can pick it up and play on the fly, which is also awesome. You do not need a lot of prep time. So, you find yourself stuck inside a cabin in the woods for whatever reason. Hey, let's play a game instead of going and searching for trouble.
Well, the other thing that at least has been my experience hearing other podcasters, etc., talk about Powered by the Apocalypse is that it's very good at tightly focused games.
Yes.
Which, given I really have very little knowledge of actual ghost hunting, I'm guessing it's a fairly tightly focused thing.
It is. I feel like there's some wiggle room to make, at least in mind, to bring in more supernatural aspects than, you traditionally have in the world of strictly ghost hunting. But besides that, my game is good for what it was designed to do. I would not recommend like taking it and deciding to like throw it, and now turn it into some fantasy romance. Like it's not a great idea because the rules, the moves, the abilities are all designed around the setting.
Mhm.
That being said, I will always tell people that, like, your game is your game, and if you wanna give it a go, give it a go. I just can't promise you good results.
Well, but that's anything, right? And I've been one of those people before. I've said, technically, you can play any game with any system if you really want to. It just may be a whole lot easier and probably more fun in a game that was designed to do what you're trying to do.
Yes, absolutely. I would say mine is good for, mine was designed for basically one-shot mystery solving. You could extend it into a long campaign, but my design was not necessarily meant to be that way because, if you start to acquire too many different moves and abilities, you will become OP so fast, and it will take away from, like, the adventure, the mystery solving. What I have recommended people do is that they play, essentially one night mysteries and rotate GMs. So if you have a group of 5 people, everybody creates their character, and then you just shift out who's running the game, and everybody can design their own mystery, and they don't necessarily have to build off the past things because the game isn't about that. Now we have played some. My husband actually ran it for me for a birthday weekend where we ran an entire weekend long game, and that was essentially 3 arcs that all tied together. So it was essentially 3 smaller sessions that all tied together for an overall mystery. But still, I wouldn't say this is not great for like a year-long mystery campaign.
Hmm. So, I guess maybe the one question that maybe a lot of people are thinking is, do you need any sort of background in actual ghost hunting to play this, or?
Oh, heck no. Heck no. I tried to describe everything in there with like the equipment. That's where you're going to find yourself lost the most is that I have a page of equipment, and the equipment are things like, you have like the spirit board, but you also have the spirit box, dowsing rods, an EMF. You have like some fairly well-known ghost hunting equipment, but that is probably where you might get lost the most.
Mhm.
Besides that, if you have seen Supernatural or, Ghost Adventures or, any other paranormal or supernatural fiction shows, you can totally make this work. I literally had someone at the gaming expo buy the book because they wanted to run a Scooby-Doo mystery. Like, they were signing who was playing, like, Scooby and everything. So, absolutely, they wanted to create, Mystery Inc., but they didn't have a good system that would allow them to do that, and this is perfect for that. I built it in a way that you can either create your own original characters, or if you wanted to go and be like, "I want to play, the Supernatural, the RPG," like, you can create hunters a la the Winchester Bros, or, you wanna play, Ghostbusters, like, you can absolutely, like, recreate Venkman. It's doable. That is how I designed this, and a lot of the move sets are actually, like, pop culture references and things like that. It is not a hardcore serious, like, ghost hunting book. It is more about the humor in pop culture paranormal.
Okay. No, because I was looking, I mean, you have a list. Actually, you're telling me the Scooby-Doo thing, and I immediately start looking at the list of playbooks in your drive-through listing, going, "Okay, what's Shaggy?"
Shaggy would be the intern, and the reason is because he's got a move that's called "I brought snacks."
Ah,
It
yes!
I'm not even kidding you. The intern is actually like one of my top 3 favorite classes or playbooks in the entire game book. And I say that completely unironically because people are like, "Who would ever want to play the intern?" And I'm like, "I would. I absolutely would. The intern is wonderful." I love him. But yes, that would absolutely be Shaggy because then he would have the move, "I brought snacks."
Okay. That wow. And by the way, just to tangent a little bit because it's what we do. If you're ever in the mood for something really, really funny, if you go back have you heard of the One Shot podcast?
I have not.
Okay, it's run by a guy that's actually heavily involved in improv theater in Chicago. His name's James D'Amato. There's a recording on there where he ran Call of Cthulhu with the cast of like the characters are the Scooby Doo crew.
That would be
It's
wonderful. Delightful.
absolutely
I'm going to need
hysterical.
to find that. Absolutely. That sounds amazing.
There's also a 2-page RPG called It Wasn't Us Meddling Kids.
I have seen that.
So the basic premise of that one is, what if Shaggy was Shaggy the Rapper?
Oh my god.
So That's a goofy one. I picked that up. I still have yet to run that, but I really want to. It's such a goofy game.
But no, this does sound like, now that you mention it, yeah. But this, this is taking what I'm guessing is a little bit more of a serious approach to the haunting, but still laying the comedy of.
Yes. You can take it as seriously or not seriously as you want. Like, my novels are, like serious mysteries. They are 100%. This is a ghost hunting team that absolutely buys it and they are researching it and that is their thing. The novels are the serious aspect. The podcast starts to get a little bit in the middle. Gets a little bit more ridiculous. And the cast of characters, I think, as you hear them vocalizing, helps shed some light on the ridiculousness. And then when you get to the game, you can see, I think, that as much as I love this stuff, I truly love ghost hunting and the paranormal, and I love going and trying to find it. But I am not someone who like lives and breathes it and can't admit sometimes the ridiculousness that goes with it. And I think that the game book really highlights that.
That's cool. I like that. Well, I enjoy when things can both be serious and not take themselves seriously.
Yes, like it's absolutely labor of love, and I know my ghost hunting stuff. Like I know my paranormal investigation. Don't get me wrong, but it also means that I can make fun of it and not feel bad in the least.
Yeah, well, I shared with you when we talked at both the convention and before we started recording. I actually used to sit next to a guy at work who was an avid ghost hunter, and so I used to hear him ramble on about EVP this, and I'm going, okay, I I respect your enthusiasm and all this, but you're losing me somewhere with all the technical, you know.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we have so basically we created in a way that if you wanted to play a person, like a character that it wants to be that technical researcher, you can totally do that. Like you can say, "No, I want to play a character that totally takes this all seriously because I take this very seriously." You can do that.
I would love to see somebody play that character in a goofy setting because that's the kind of character I would play. I would be the guy that takes everything super seriously, but it's actually just a guy in a rubber mask.
Um, yeah, well, okay, I don't wanna
Okay.
spoil anything, but I will say that, we we address some of that stuff in our podcast as well because we love that idea. But yeah, no, it's just a lot of fun. Doing this stuff is a lot of fun. I've met a lot of great people doing it thus far. So many people who have either a massive love of RPGs or even just people who really want to talk to someone about their paranormal experiences and never thought they would have someone who would actually listen and be like, "That's cool. Like, tell me about it." It's been a blast doing it, and then I get to meet cool people like you guys, who we just met on a whim. So it's been a blast. I'm loving it.
Well, no, I mean, like I see, like you've got quite a list of playbooks. It says 18, and I'm not going to count
Yes.
because I believe that you can.
It was 18, so it actually started as 15, and then with the Kickstarter, we added 3 on as, like, special playbooks through the Kickstarter. That is how we added on the Hunter, the Occultist, and the Spirit. And the Spirit is the hard mode class if, you want to play the game on hard mode.
Well, see, maybe you've got the skeptic, which is like, yeah, I'm guessing the person who got dragged along by their friends, and yeah, okay.
Yes, the skeptic is a wild character to play. They are difficult. It is a difficult class to play, because their entire playbook is based around them absolutely not buying it. So they will be there. They will have ghosts literally flying around them, throwing ectoplasm, and they just stand there like, "Nope, I don't believe it. This is." I doesn't matter if I'm seeing it. I don't believe it because that is their entire character premise.
Hmm. And I'm assuming a lot of rationalization of explaining away all these phenomena by
Yes.
probably increasingly more harebrained.
Ridiculous means, yes.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the characters on our podcast. We have a couple reoccurring characters, and one of them is the skeptic, because It is it is a fun character to throw into the mix when you literally have teammates who are throwing fireballs and they're like, "Nuh-uh, I don't believe it. I don't care." Flash
So
paper.
yeah, so basically Dana Scully from
Yeah,
X-Files.
like hardcore. Dana Scully when she's literally standing next to a pyrokinetic but just doesn't believe it.
That's a lot of that show, though, to
It
be
is.
fair.
It is.
A lot of that show is Mulder just like pointing at things and Scully being like, I don't know, I don't
Nope.
see nothing.
I haven't watched that in a while. I need to go back and watch some of that. Just
It's
for
on
fun.
Hulu, and I just started a rewatch of it because I was like, we need something spooky to watch. And she'd never seen X-Files, and I was like, this is light enough horror that I think you can manage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not kidding you. Let's see. I believe X-Files premiered in 93, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. The year that it premiered, I was 3 years old. And my father was working on his master's degree, and my mom would be like, I need a break from children. Your responsibility now. And so he would be sitting there working on his master's with me a couple feet away in my beanbag chair watching X-Files. So I was 3 years old watching X-Files and then Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a lot of who I am today.
Yeah. I see, I was much more of a baby at 3 years old, so when my mother would be like, yeah, here's Tales from the Crypt, just watch this, I would like cry and freak out.
I loved the Bone Man.
Yeah, I always liked him too, but I couldn't take any of the other bits of that show. And then as I got older, I'm like, I don't understand young me at all.
See, now y'all look, okay, you see
Oh,
the gray
hey, listen
here?
here.
You're really making me feel it.
Just because you were born in 1972.
I wasn't 72. I was a freshman in college in 1993.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I was a freshman in college in 72.
But yeah, we actually used to watch some of the crews that I played Call of Cthulhu with at the time would all get together and watch X-Files.
There you go.
Some of those episodes absolutely stuck with me, like forever. Home. That episode, Home. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I need to go back and watch a bunch of that.
I can guarantee you that like any like solid X-File fan who listens to this will hear me say that and all of them will be like, ah yes, that one, the one that was removed from broadcast for some years.
So let me just ask, what got you into ghost hunting? What was the driving, like, aside from probably
Growing up like
curiosity
that?
of it? Yeah.
I can tell you the exact moment where I knew that I wanted to go and look for this stuff. I was in 5th grade, something like, yeah, I want to say it was 5th grade, and they were airing Scariest Places on Earth.
Mhm.
That was the one that had Linda Blair and then the woman who said, you know, what is it like? This house is clean in Poltergeist. You know her.
Mhm.
She was the narrator. So in that was like I said, I think it was 5th grade. I want to say it was the season finale, and they were in Chillingham Castle. And the premise of this, for anybody who hasn't seen the show, because you cannot find it anywhere streaming. I have tried, you cannot find it. The premise was for a lot of these, they would take a family and just like drop them into a haunted location and be like, good luck, make it till morning. And they would have all sorts of tasks and stuff to do that would require them to split up, things like that. And Chillingham Castle was, I think, the season finale. So this family's in there, they're doing their things, they're freaking out, weird stuff's happening, and I'm sitting in a dark basement in a princess dress watching this. And I'm like, I'm loving this. And finally, they roll the credits, the show ends, and then at the end, they tack on like an extra little like clip of the footage. And this like armoire that they had shut slowly starts to open, you know, presumably on its own. I don't know. Maybe there's a fishing wire. Who knows? The fact is that 5th grade me watched that clip of that armoire opening, and I'm like, I'm going to go find that myself someday. I'm going to find that. So I did. So I was in high school and college, right into college from high school. I had done my senior project on mass hysteria. So I took a group ghost hunting and studied mass hysteria, and then started in college finding places that I could book out for myself and my friends. And we would just go ghost hunting. And then over the years, I started to acquire more equipment. I did some work with a team that went in and professionally was going ghost hunting in locations. So I did some stuff with them, and then I'm now, back to doing things with my friends and some set people, and we have quite the arsenal of equipment now. I have been to, I don't know, places like Moundsville, that's West Virginia
Hmm.
Penitentiary, Weston, West Virginia for the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Waverly Hills. I did Lep Castle in Ireland. Those are like some of the really big names that people would recognize, I think. I will say that my first book is actually based off of Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, mixed with Haunted Hillview Manor, which is in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. And I have been to some of the most haunted places in the world, places that have been on every show, all this amazing evidence. The place that I have received pretty much consistently the best evidence, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Not even kidding you. But yeah, so those are, influence from my first book. My second book is based off Lep Castle, where I've been. But yeah, I just super love that stuff. I love getting to go to these places. One thing I always tell people is that ghost hunting is like not nearly as scary as the shows make it out to be. It's a whole lot of sitting in the room talking to nobody, being like, "Is anybody here? Knock, do something," and nothing happens most of the time. So it's really not that scary, but it's fun.
Well, it's like anything else, right? If you enjoy it, then more power to you. And I don't mean that in any way other than sincerely. If
It's not for everyone, I will say. It is for some people, that is, like, the worst thing in the world, either because it's boring, it's stupid, or it's scary. So,
See, I think for me, it goes into my imagination gets too active when I'm bored.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
You know,
you when nothing happens for a straight hour of you sitting on a cold floor, your mind starts to wander.
takes you an hour.
Oh my god, yes! Yeah, well, I mean, I see what you're saying, so your mind start to wander.
Yep.
No, for me, it's very quick, but also half the time when you're using equipment, you're just focusing on that, and you can't think about much else, so
I think for me, it would be in the range of 2 minutes.
I've seriously, like, it's really not bad. The scariest things I've ever had happen to me, I've had a couple weird paranormal things that weren't super terrifying. One was unnerving. But the scariest thing that ever happened to me had nothing to do with the paranormal and everything to do with a person being on the property who wasn't supposed to be there.
Mm.
So, like, that was the scariest thing that has ever happened.
Mhm. No, like I said, I'm not meaning at all to be, disrespectful to anything. I'm just saying, like I said, for me, I know my brain, I would be, and then I would make up things, or my mind would wander, and if something did happen, I would completely miss it because I was thinking about, the character I want to make and run 3 campaigns from now.
That's fair.
So, I mean, you're talking about these investigations. I'm just reading your listing here on because your game's on drive through.
It is,
For those that
yes.
want the PDF, I do know you had physical copies at the convention, but in any case, you're saying, mysteries involve, haunted houses, obviously, cold cases, and even cryptid sightings.
We've hunted down Mothman in some of our games, yes.
No, I just didn't. Like I said, I gathering then you went for much more of the instead of just quote unquote ghost hunting, you went for much more of paranormal investigation
Yes,
in general.
yes. Yeah, so the reason I say ghost hunting is because, that's the mainstream term. That is the thing that people you say it and people have the image of, the guys from TV with all of their gear. And, that was essentially why we branded it as the ghost hunting RPG.
Hmm.
But in reality, it is designed as mostly like an investigation, yeah, like a paranormal investigation or supernatural investigation game. We have faced down, killer clowns, possessed dolls, searched out Mothman. We've exorcised schoolhouses, stopped serial killers who were stealing psychic powers. We've dabbled into many, many realms. If your GM can think it, then you can probably find a way to do it. Just, if you start to venture out It's for one thing, it's a very modern setting. So if you start to try to take this and set it into any other timeline that was, say, over 100 years old, it's going to get a little harder. You might be much more restricted on classes, but you could absolutely take some of the the medium, the clairvoyance, some of the psychic classes in particular, or even like the occultist, and toss them into, say, Victorian era. You can make that work, but the way we have mostly designed it is to be using equipment that people would recognize from ghost hunting shows.
Appreciate that you're doing a modern setting or a more modern setting, because I think I've seen games that are like, oh, it's, perfect example of this is straight up Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Standard Call of Cthulhu, yeah, it has the rule set to play in modern, but it's more so set in that like 1930s. It's like,
Right.
this doesn't this isn't something that we want to, you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
appreciate hearing that it's aimed towards a more modern setting. That's awesome.
I would say that we have enough flexibility that you could take the idea of Call of Cthulhu, toss it into modern times, and use the mechanics and pretty much all of the character classes. You could make that work. I would also say that you could say, I want to play in the 1930s, but I want to use this rule set instead. And almost all of the classes would be usable. You might have to do a little bit more like fluff and role play stuff to, say, make like the engineer work using just essentially any technology that was available to you in 1930, but theoretically it could work. And then, as I said, basically the further you go back, the more classes you would kind of be crossing off as usable, but you could still use a solid chunk of them to make the game work.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, you've got, I'm sure a lot of, well, so much of modern technology has basis in stuff that is at least credited to Edison, and he died in 31. So,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can make it work. You just have to kind of know a little bit of what you're talking about to make the timelines work.
yeah, it's role playing games. If it doesn't work, just make it up, make it work.
If it doesn't work, Wizard did it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with Steve. I really like modern or near modern settings for games. My brain just clicks better with it. And then like two, there's so much out there just that you can just farm for ideas.
Yeah.
How many shows on the Travel Channel or because I'm trying to think, there was one. What's the one? I watch it all the time. Or not, I don't watch it all the time, but I've watched it quite a bit. And I'm trying to think. It's Mysteries of the Abandoned.
On Travel Channel?
I think it's on Travel Channel.
Yeah, like the Exploration Unknown, Destination Truth, like so many things you could take. Those are like the real things, you could take any of these unsolved mysteries or great mysteries that they delve into and research, take it and form a plot into it. Or what I like to do is take shows that I know my friends haven't seen, like, say, Disney Channel's So Weird, or
Mm-hmm.
the show Erie, Indiana. I like to take
Oh,
old episodes of those that I know my friends haven't seen and literally steal the entire plot to form my mystery, and they never know.
yeah. I haven't thought about Erie, Indiana in so long.
I just went back and rewatched a bunch of them because I was looking for plot ideas.
You would be surprised, and we've talked about, like, this is something that comes up on our show pretty regularly. You would be surprised at how you can actually steal even stuff that your friends do know and just throw it at them in a different, like, minor different context, and they'll never pick
Yeah.
up on it.
Yeah.
Take, and I've never watched Erie, Indiana, but I'm saying take the basic plot line from an episode of that and stuff it in some weird location from, Mysteries of the Abandoned.
Yeah.
They're not going to get it until the end, probably. And then if they do, they still think it was cool. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, no, we gotta play this.
now I'm really wishing I had bought a copy instead of just wishing I had bought a copy.
Yes, I will say that anybody listening, we currently do not actually sell the physical books unless you find us at a show. We do not sell them online. You cannot get them from anywhere except me. That might be changing in the future. I won't say the details yet because we haven't worked out how it's going to work, but there might be a local Pittsburgh shop that might start carrying them. And based on where we met, guys, you might be able to figure out what
Yeah.
store might end up carrying
There's
them.
2 options, and given our previous conversation, I think I know which one. Although the other one would probably carry it happily as well.
Yeah, I'm not super interested in doing some like a mass distribution quite yet because right now everything was very locally produced. So I haven't worked out the logistics on how we would mass market it, but to let one game shop possibly carry it, that like I can work out something with the person who runs it, we might just do that, and then if anybody wants to pick it up, they'll be able to get it through them.
Cool.
Sweet.
Cool.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that, and then but it is available online for anybody who prefers PDFs because you live a minimalist lifestyle and like Control F. It is there.
Well, my problem with digital files of RPGs is I forget that I have them.
Yes, I totally know that because I have a library of. Oh boy, when did I get that one?
That's why you have to have a hard drive that's just undersized for what you need. So every couple months you got to go through and be like, oh, I got this, I got that, I got this. That's what I have to do.
Oh man, yeah, no,
She runs
I
a
get that.
podcast, Steve. She has to have massive audio storage.
Well, yes, luckily I keep a lot of it on Dropbox and then get rid of it when I don't need the raw files anymore.
Right.
And just pray that nothing happens to my final edited versions. Oh boy.
We just rely on the faith of the cloud and
Yeah. I have an editor do all my audio work. I'm terrible with technical stuff, so I send it off to a professional and they fix it all for me, and then I just keep that file.
Steve is the complaints department. Steve does the editing. Steve manages all of our digital stuff.
Mhm.
Steve manages our social media. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve does it all.
The only thing Steve hasn't done is created our logo. In which
That's
case,
true.
Steve's sister did it.
I will say, you know what? I'm gonna just shout out my artist because I feel like I have to name drop her. One thing I have been told with the Deittman Files is that the artwork is very catchy, and if you had a moment to look at any of the like tarot cards that we had out, we have a set of cards that are each of our character classes. Our artwork is almost entirely done by a Pittsburgh artist, Gabrielle Burke Art. She's done most of my stuff and it is fantastic. And I truly do not believe that we would have, like, I do not think that we would have found the success that we have found if we did not have her artwork because it is catchy and I feel like it definitely embodies the kind of vibe we go for. Art is important, guys. That is one tip. One tip, any aspiring game designer out there, art is very important. Don't cut on that. Like, don't skimp on your art budget.
Well, I think art is a lot of times what gets the book picked up in the first place, especially in a physical format.
Absolutely. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but come on, we all do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So I drove to DC earlier in the week. I'm a big fan of the 2 guys that used to do BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Mhm.
They have started their own production company. They have their own show called The Ghost Files, which my book came out first. I will say the Deittman Files predated that. You can look at the pub date, but I really love them. And they had announced a live show in DC. I snatched tickets, drove down to see them, and I took books with me because nothing like it. One of my dreams was to get these guys my book because they've done the ghost hunting stuff. They are, creators who started small and then found massive success. And they also did a brief quarantine series about Dungeons and Dragons, where they did a play with me and did Dungeons and Dragons. So I wanted to get them my book, and I had 2 copies. And what I hadn't realized I had done was I had put it so that the covers, right, the front covers were both facing outwards when I was holding them. They did a Q&A. I got up there. I was able to ask a question and say, "I would really love to give these to you. Can I please give these to you? You know, you helped inspire me to create this." And they're like, "Yes, sure. Come on up." So like I took this up there and I'm carrying the books, right? Not thinking that no matter which way I'm holding them, people can see the cover. Totally accidental. And through the audience, I could hear people being like, "Oh, that look at that. That art is so cool. Look at that cover. That looks awesome." And I had to tell my artist this because I'm like, "Look, once again, like I don't think people would have been saying that if we didn't have it." And then it also meant that when they held up the books and like took it and like said goodbye to everybody, no matter which way they held it, the cover was facing out. So we have a picture of them standing there waving goodnight, holding the book, and it was like made one of my dreams come true.
Free
That's
publicity
cool.
is the best publicity.
It was I mean, it was free, but, I mean, I did have to drive to DC, after work to make this show, so but, no, that's yeah, artwork, very important. More of the story, guys.
Yeah, and I love that you're keeping it local, right?
I
Like,
try. Mhm.
I love hearing that you hired a Pittsburgh-based artist and they're the one doing the work, and that's awesome to hear. Because
And the hardbacks are printed in Chambersburg.
oh, sweet. So yeah, those are even local too.
Yeah, which is why it's not really mass produced right now is because of, like, where I get the books, so
I'm just gonna say I had talked to contacts, within the industry, and I had heard there's really only one good small run printer for RPGs in the US, and it was not there.
No, this one is they do I'll just tell people because this is how I do it, this is how I get my hardbacks printed for everything. It's just Ingram Spark, which is a book like a US based printer, and you can like get your own, stuff printed and, put your own, ISBN up there. You could credit the publisher, but they have I think maybe 3 or 4 printers in the United States, and I like them because one of them is in Chambersburg. So like
Mhm.
literally if the world came to an end and they had my books but couldn't ship them, I could literally drive there and get them if I needed them. So for me, I'm like, yes, this is definitely more expensive. My margin is not high, I will say, on those books, but I feel better knowing that the quality is good and it's people just like a couple hours away from me who are doing the printing, and
Mhm.
I think that's a good thing, and, I think there has been some major lessons learned, in the past 2 years for anybody looking to create, but looking for the most cost-effective options, I'll say. Those options are often not in the United States, but the trade-off is that when supply chain issues happen, you don't know if you're ever going to get your product.
Yeah.
So,
Right. We've
you know,
heard a lot of that from different creators, and
yeah, look at Kickstarter. I mean, so many projects still it's been a year, 2 years, projects haven't been filled because that's where their supply chains are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was determined to not have that happen to me.
Yeah. Well, it's I know, we know another I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Spivey.
Yeah, yeah, the name I definitely know.
He did Harlem Unbound and Haunted
Okay.
West, or what he's
Okay. Yes,
best
yes, yes,
known
yes.
for.
Alright, yeah.
Well, we've talked to him a couple times, and when he got the prints of Haunted West, which
Mhm.
is an enormous book. In fact, here, just hang on a quick second.
That one, yeah, Haunted West is the one that I've heard before because people really want me to play a game like that. Oh
It's
my
a
god, that is a beast!
it's a history
But look at
tome.
that art! That art is catchy.
Oh yes, it's a gorgeous book, and it's not a cheap book, um,
No.
but it's also pushing 800 pages.
Yeah.
And Chris told us about a month ago on the air. He said he likely will never do a print on demand run of it.
You can't.
No, he said it as thick as that book is, the thinnest version that he could, because he proofed it to see what it would do. The thinnest version of print on demand he could get would be like another inch and a half thicker.
Yeah.
And for those
Yeah.
who can't see, the book is already
It's
an
massive.
inch and a half thick.
Yeah, you're looking at, an encyclopedia.
It's a history tome. It's a fantastic book if you
Mhm.
haven't gotten a chance to pick it up.
I haven't, but that's the one some of my friends are like, "You know what genre we haven't played yet?"
I will say 2 places you can get physical copies.
Yeah.
Artal Sorian was helping him distribute distribute it, and they had a few copies left as of the last we talked to him, and Indie Press Revolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
But originally, when they got shipped, they literally sent pallets to Chris's house, and he had them in his garage.
Yeah. Yeah, I filled everything myself, and it was a pain.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any listener questions?
No, we don't.
Okay.
Actually, don't know if I remember to post this one for them because I arranged it so late.
Sorry, patrons.
Yes, my fault. My bad. I'm sorry.
We'll get you. With that, why don't you go ahead and plug everything and anything you would like our audience to know, like where you can be found, other shows, any of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a quick rundown of my things again. So I've got 2 books, Echoes and Ashes and Earth and Ashes. They follow Dr. Deittman's team. The first one follows Eli, a dude who's down on his luck. He suffers from he is a post-cognitive, so he can see what he calls echoes of the past, which are often very traumatic and show up at inopportune times. He accepts a job with Dr. Deittman. They go to a haunted asylum, and shenanigans ensue. You can get that on Amazon. There is a paperback and a Kindle ebook, but you can only get hardbacks through me if you ever see me. Earth and Ashes is the sequel, comes out on Halloween, also on Amazon, paperback and the ebook is pre-order. That one follows some of Dr. Deittman's team as they go to an Irish castle that is being converted to in a bed and breakfast. And it is haunted because, hey, aren't all Irish castles haunted? The podcast you can find, it is The Deittman Files, a paranormal mystery. It is on most major podcasting networks, everything but Apple because I couldn't get my account to authenticate. Each episode is about 30 minutes, so if you're looking for, say, a bite-sized chunk to listen to over like lunch breaks, this could be for you. Each episode is its own investigation, and over the 13 episodes, it has a larger unraveled investigation. Again, this is an audio drama. This is not about the RPG. Then finally, the RPG you can get on drivethrurpg.com. I'm on all socials under the Deittman Files. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check me out on my website, thedeittmanfiles.com. We have a link to our community Discord there as well, where we will sometimes post extra resources. I guess 2 quick games that I'll plug that are not mine are one that's been heavily influencing some of my gameplay and everything. It's actually a setting. So what you could do is take the Deittman Files as your rulebook and then get this setting and play it. It's called Dusk Hollow. And it is by the guys who did the Magnus Archives. If anybody's another, if you're podcast fans. So they actually, the Rusty Quill created Dusk Hollow, which is they tag it something like a town that's like not that far away from, Arkham or Innsmouth, but also not that far away from Night Vale. It's kind of like that weird little town on maybe the East Coast. It's always rainy, always dreary. Your neighbor might be a reptile person. The mayor's office is definitely run by occults, and like weird stuff happens all the time. There are only 2 rules. 1, ghosts don't exist, and if you believe in ghosts, you're crazy. And 2, the characters are never allowed to laugh because this is a very dark, gritty, serious world, and laughing is not a thing. It's about investigations primarily, so I had a lot of fun. That is the one where I would take a lot of Erie, Indiana episodes and turn it into plots for Dusk Hollow using the Deittman Files rule. And then finally, it's not out yet. I have permission to name drop it. It should be coming out in, I think, February on Kickstarter. I have been playtesting another Powered by the Apocalypse system for like 2 years now. Actually, 2 years today. I have been playtesting this game. It is called Modern Gods, and it is very much, say, if you like something like American Gods, the idea of old gods or new gods in a modern setting trying to stay hidden, live their life, and deal with the waning belief that they're dealing with. This could be for you. I have had a blast playing with it, and that I think is going to Kickstarter in about February. So that is the one
Sweet.
I would recommend people check out or keep on their radar for when it comes out.
We will keep that on the radar and
Yes.
maybe ask you a couple questions about that when the podcast
Well,
ends
get
here.
that, or I can help you get the creator on because he's the one
Yeah.
I've been playtesting with.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Maybe we can get some contacts going from you here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and I know you sort of did your two there. We'll move into our segment called Game of the Week.
Woohoo! Game of the week.
Game of the week. Game of the week.
You can do another one if you want.
Yeah, if you want to do a third one, you're welcome to it.
I'll mull it over. I don't know.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Steve, you want me to go first?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, I have a game in quotations.
Okay.
It's called Cyst. Cyst. It is a game about making your own dying fantasy world. My immediate thought was take this, pair that with Morkborg, and make your own settings for Morkborg. It's everything you need to create your own setting: adventures, monsters, dungeons, and treasure. It contains rules for a rules-light coin flip system that you and your friends can play in the created setting, bursting with colorful, illuminated, and evocative collages. It seems like a really interesting world builder, if you want to call it that. It's all of $2 on Drive-Thru RPG. But yeah, I looked at this and my brain immediately went, I should take this and use it to make a Morkborg game set in like, I don't know, like the 1970s dirty, grimy Ralph Bakshi style fantasy stuff, right?
Yeah. You could do well for $2 and it's a whole bunch of prompts. I mean,
Yeah,
you use it for anything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a collaborative thing. So it's one of that's encouraged that you let your players build the world with you. So that's awesome. That's always good to have at a table. But yeah, $2 to have in your bag as a tool set. I think it's worth it.
Oh yeah, for $2, heavens yes. Just use it to generate ideas.
Right.
All right. Well, I was looking at something else, and then I ran across this thing from the same publisher as that something else, and it feels like it's appropriate for, October, spooky season, Halloween. Steve, did you know that there's a role-playing game out based on the Angel TV series?
I did. Yes, I did. I did know this. I looked at it and I was excited, and then I was less excited because it's Angel.
Well, but yeah, that's what it is. It's Unisystem, which I don't know a ton about other than I do know someone who really, really loves Unisystem.
Mm-hmm.
And it claims to be very good for, cinematic and story stuff. So, yeah. But I mean, this is, it's Angel, the role-playing game. So you get what's on the cover.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the show a lot, but it seems thematic at the very least.
I like Angel. I always did. I liked it more than Buffy, and that's like blasphemy to most people, but I don't know. I always thought Angel was more interesting. But
I see that face you're making.
You have thoughts?
No. My thoughts are far more blasphemous, actually.
Okay.
So they're that I was never a fan of either.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I have my reasons why I don't like Buffy, and I think Angel's entertaining at least.
Yeah. Reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did think of one more game that if I could plug it. We're talking about thematic things. I'm working on the playtesting for it. Can't give a date for the actual release, but I know there are socials out there for it, including a really great playlist on Spotify. It's called League of Reapers, and that one, there's not a whole lot of info out yet, but you literally play as a Grim Reaper, and a lot of it is like very middle management. So if anybody's ever seen the show like Dead Like Me, think of it kind of like that, where
that could be fun.
You might be like the big bad Grim Reaper, or you might actually be the person who's sitting there stamping which underworld people are supposed to go to and dealing with the issues when things get crossed and spirits won't actually cross over. I'm really excited to start going and doing the play testing for it. I have that coming up in just a few weeks to start my weekend long play tests. But thematic one that I know is coming out and people can start following on socials for more info when it's released, League of Reapers.
Cool. You know what I think would be really fun, Steve? Mash that with Hell Knight.
Oh, that would be fun. My brain, I've been on a bad sitcom binge recently. And so my brain went to play League of Reapers, but like The Good Place.
Yes, actually, that it seems very much that you could do something like that based on the design.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Well,
I was just going to say, I mean, thank you very much for coming to talk with us. This
Thank
sounds
you
like
for
an
having me.
amazingly fun game to play. I'm definitely going to have to at least get myself the PDF here at some point, even though, I don't exactly not have many games to read and go through already.
No, hey, I totally understand.
but
Oh gosh. Oh, don't hurt yourself. That's a lot of books.
That's just
You're
part of
gonna
the
you're
snack.
gonna crush yourself under those.
How much did you spend at the con?
Well, like some of it was like, I bought this because I've been wanting this for a while. And I bought the GM screen because I know if I play it, I'm going to be the one running it. So,
Well, with all that being said, as always, links to everything are in the show notes. Patreon, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, other things? Nah. We want to, again, thank you for coming on the podcast, talk to us today. Remind everyone to be kind to one another and get out there and play some RPGs.
yep. Take care, y'all.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast. On Discord at Me and Steve RPGs. And as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.